I'm completely dumbfounded by this interview that I just came across, and I want to play it for you because it's exactly what I have been saying. And if you understand within the context of biblical prophecy, this is going to be so clear to you.
We are the most sober people. We have been the most reasonable people. The people who are on the Palestine side have always been very reasonable. The arrogance of Netanyahu, the arrogance of the Israeli apartheid government, the arrogance of the Minister of Defense. You can see that these are the people who think that they are superpowers and they are a chosen God as children in a real meaning, because they don't listen to anyone. And it is America, it is NATO, it is UK that encourage that nonsensical attitude of Netanyahu's government.
Did you hear what he just said? He just identified the key players of the end times. Listen to what else he has to say.
The people of Palestine have suffered for 75 years and they've been cooperative all these years. What did Israel do? Attack them in 2008, attack them in 2012, attack them in 2021, attack them in 2023. They've been consistently attacking them. And when you have been confronted like that, what more option do you have except to fight?
I'm completely blown away. You've heard me in the last couple days talking about these key players of the end times, about the United States being the false prophet, I literally did a video distinguishing between the roles of the United Nations, NATO, and the EU. I've been talking about the Kingdom of England. I have been talking with you about the end times and how these key players are going to come together and they are going to have one purpose, as is written in Revelation 17, and that is to testify to the beast and hand over their power and authority. Testify, as is written in Revelation 13, hand over power and authority, as is written in Revelation 17. And these are those who are testifying as counterfeit Christianity to counterfeit Christianity. Same spirit. And as counterfeit Christianity, testifying to counterfeit Judaism, which, listen, Christianity is just the fulfillment of Judaism. And I've been telling you exactly why it is that counterfeit Christianity does this. Because they hinge everything on what is written in the Old Testament with regard to Israel being the apple of his eye. And they are, but they're misunderstanding who Israel is. They're not looking in the New Testament. Because you know what? They don't have that continuity either between Old Testament and New Testament. They don't know the Old Testament from nothing. They pick and choose scriptures, and then they stay right there in the Gospels. They don't even read Paul's writings. Stay right there in the Gospels and pick and choose all of the promises of Christ and none of the covenant. The other scripture that they hinge this on is whoever blesses you, I will bless. So this isn't even about supporting Israel. This is about their own blessing. They're not going to give that up. And so they'll justify anything. And it is such absolute stupidity that you would just take an ethnic group and say, this ethnic group is right in everything that they do. That you would support a narrative that the land, the physical land of Jerusalem, and anything of this life belongs to a particular group. And there are Orthodox Jews who are coming out and saying, this is against our law. This is not correct. This is not true. This narrative is false. And they're getting the snot kicked out of them. This is insane. It's insane. And you know what else? Is that people come against me in such vile ways. They're the most disgusting counterfeit Christians, accusing me of being anti-Semitic. This has nothing to do with race. Counterfeit Christianity is the one making this about race. I haven't made this about race at all. The only time I've ever mentioned race is to say how stupid it is that counterfeit Christianity thinks that that's what the word is talking about, that a race is God's people, especially when Paul so clearly identifies Israel and the children of Abraham to not all be those who are descended from Israel and Abraham. When he so clearly identifies Jews to be those who are circumcised in heart, it includes ethnic Jews who are circumcised in heart, and it also includes every other ethnicity that is circumcised in heart. This is the epitome of counterfeit Christianity. When you start justifying genocide because you're too lazy to understand your covenant and you're too wicked to consider the fact that an ethnicity, that your covenant does not fall on an ethnic group. This is the epitome of wicked counterfeit Christianity. To act like everything in your covenant falls on an ethnic group. You don't have to pick up your cross. You don't have to participate in the sufferings with Christ. That's all on ethnic Jews. What a stupid, stupid bunch of people. Let me tell you something. Muslims have a calendar that they don't compromise on. It's the lunar calendar. You know who else has a lunar calendar? God. That's what God established. Muslims accept Jesus Christ as a prophet, and they are waiting for his return. Do you know what Reformed Judaism did? They adapted what they're calling a Hebrew calendar in order to accommodate to the Gregorian solar calendar. They added days, they added a leap year. That way they could be just like the world. Sound familiar? It's like the cake and eat it too gospel and counterfeit Christianity. Same spirit, guys. Reformed Judaism denies Christ. What does the word tell you about denying Christ? What does the word tell you about the fate of people who add to the scroll or remove from the scroll? Why isn't anybody claiming to be Christian seeing this from a biblical perspective rather than the political perspective, the authority of the world, and gathering around themselves many worldly experts to tell them what to think, many false teachers telling them what to think, and making up a narrative about how this fits into biblical prophecy? Let me tell you something. It fits into biblical prophecy, but not in the way you're being told by them. Let me tell you how it fits into biblical prophecy. That these people who believe these things, who perpetuate these things, and swear falsely in the name of God, in the name of Christ, they will not make it. They will be assigned a place with the hypocrites outside of the door where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. They will not be saved. This is probably the most disgusting thing that I've seen counterfeit Christianity fight for. Not even just do, but fight for, and fight me on it. Calling me an anti-Semite. Calling me racist. This is probably the most disgusting thing I've seen as of yet in my lifetime to justify the murder and torture of human beings in the name of counterfeit Christianity because of a stupid doctrine that does not even make sense to the heart of God. How are people justifying and defending a group of people who were doing the same thing that pagans were doing at Burning Man? But in their sensationalized nonsense, they say, oh, those kids were just trying to have fun. They were having orgies. They were doing drugs. In the pictures and footage of that festival, they had statues, massive statues of false gods up in the sky on God's Sabbath, on the last day of the what they claim to be the Festival of Tabernacles. Oh no, we're not going to pay any attention to that, right? The message I received a couple weeks ago wanted to describe a litany of all the atrocities happening over there. Guess what? That's what happens in war. It's also what happens, exactly what God said was going to happen when people turn away from him. I don't know why that would surprise you. Take it up with God. But just because bad things are happening does not mean that you get to construct a narrative of why that is. You go to the Word and you look at what God has said regarding why these things happen. He doesn't need a large army. He's never needed a large army in order to accomplish his will. He has never needed that. So it's not a matter of Israel being too small. Why is the United States so invested in this? The false prophet of the United States so invested in this? Because Israel is not a part of NATO. We have no obligation to go over there and act like an attack on Israel is an attack on the United States. There's no reason why we need to do that. They are not a part of this military alliance, but they are a part of a larger spiritual alliance, guys. This is utter hypocrisy. It is so sickening and so incredibly stupid. I can't even get my head around how stupid and wicked counterfeit Christianity is. This is all in the name of not challenging a doctrine, a narrative that they have no covenant that they have to fulfill. They don't want to have to sit and take a look at what Israel actually means in the Word of God, because then that would mean that, first of all of the suffering is not going to be placed on Jews, and now they need to start getting their act together, then that would mean that everything that has been written with regard to the responsibilities of spiritual Jews and the covenant of spiritual Israel, that they would actually have to do something in order to prove worthy in this covenant. And that's the truth, guys. That's just the bottom line truth. Unbelievable. Please go pray about this. Go pray about what the truth is, because this is not right at all. You think I'm going to apologize for going to a halal market? That's what everything hinged on in that message a couple weeks ago, that I'm supporting the God Allah. This is a person who is completely delusional. There is no other God but the God of Israel. But I'm going to tell you that Muslims follow that God better than Reformed Judaism and counterfeit Christianity. They have not changed from a lunar calendar to a solar calendar, and they believe in Jesus Christ. They might be misinformed, just like Jesus said to the Samaritan woman at the well that salvation would come through the Jews, and that Samaritans do not know the God they worship. They might be misinformed there, but that doesn't mean they won't be saved. They are closer to being saved because of the things that they have maintained, and because of that submissive posture, and because they believe in Jesus and have not rejected him. They are closer to being saved than any counterfeit Christian who is supporting this genocide, celebrating some false Christian birthday on the Gregorian calendar, eating the meat of strangled animals with blood in it, which they don't do. Muslims don't do that. They follow strict protocol to drain the blood of every animal. Stop judging by external standards, guys. Start judging by internal standards. These people are closer to salvation than anyone in counterfeit Christianity or Reformed Judaism. Ask God. Ask God if what I'm saying is true.